So, I'm Dodge. Dude. Yes, you're still on my channel. You probably thought you were on 8-Bit Ryan's, but no, it's still mine. I swear I'm going to get a scary gameplay out. Welcome to the first open mic night. I'm Dodge. Yeah, so I'm in this weird headspace right now where I have a crap ton of audio to edit for a scary story narration. But what I really, really want to do is read. Yeah. I love doing narrations. They're fun. They're challenging. But they take forever. So maybe this will be a good in-between. What do you think? So open mic night is going to consist of me reading a story. Shocking. Whether it's one that I've done before or one that I like. Yeah. And it's going to be minimal visual stuff. This is just something to put out. Something that I don't have to work really hard on. Because I like doing shorts, but they're shorts. Even if I was to get 1,000 subscribers this month, which I'm not. Even if I did, I still wouldn't be able to register my YouTube channel. Because the watch time is so low. You know how long you'd have to watch a 1-minute video of mine? Just for me to reach affiliate. It's a lot. So, yeah, I like shorts, but they're too short. And I like to read, but it takes too long for me to read because it takes me forever to edit. But when I edit, rewind. But when I read for like hours. I read for maybe 2 hours. Every time I sit down, I read for like 2 hours. And then it's just cutting it all up over the next couple of weeks. Months. I still have stuff from like 2020 that I need to edit. It's freaking hard though, bro. It's hard. It's hard work. I don't realize how much work we put into this stuff. It's a lot. Just finding the right sound effect for a narration can take hours. Anyway, this is open mic night. Not like AA or something. Sorry. Hi. I'm Dodge. Oh my god. I was gonna ask you how you're doing. But my mind immediately went to I'm Dodge. How are you? Hi. I don't know, man. Maybe you're cool with this. Maybe maybe you just need some background noise. Maybe you need help falling asleep. I don't know. This can help with that, maybe. Alright, let's find a story. I'm done. In case you forgot, just in case. Oh, dude, you know what I need to freaking finish? I need to finish. Wow, what the hell was the AC? Sorry. I need to finish The Strange Case of Delores Crannon. Where did I leave off? Chapter 9. So yeah, let's continue with The Strange Case of Delores Crannon, Chapter 10. If you haven't seen chapters 1 through 9, I will leave a link in the description. I'll leave a link everywhere. It'll be in the comments even, so you'll be able to find it. Yeah. The Strange Case of Delores Crannon, Chapter 10. Big Steps. No one could have predicted the next crisis. It started with the cell phone. Caitlin was on her feet with her new shoes on, a wide smile on her face. That morning, she had mastered standing on her own. As Delores praised her, she clapped, and Caitlin clapped too. The assistant in the room with them was smiling. There was just something so heartwarming and normal about it. It wasn't normal for a 3-week-old infant, but it was a normal thing for young children and parents. A passerby would notice the child's disfigured face and maybe some of the other odd physical characteristics, but he would see the two as mother and child. The child, perhaps, just learning to walk. Look at you, such a big girl, such a good girl, Delores said, pulling out her phone to take pics. Smile for Mama. Caitlin said, Mama, with a wider smile, and a thin line of drool ran to her chin. She was still learning to control her lips when her head was upright. She apparently would never get more teeth than she had. She still called Delores Delores from time to time, but Delores preferred Mama. Later that evening, an orderly asked Delores to give him her phone. Instantly suspicious, Delores wanted to know why he wanted it. No pictures can leave this wing, he said. But she's my child. You can't take my phone. The oncologist was called, along with the Monsignor and administration. The elderly was only trying to do the job required of him, and Delores was only acting as any parent would. Beyond crying any more tears, Delores told everyone assembled, You can't take my phone. That's my personal property. Beyond crying any more tears, Delores told everyone assembled, And you can't delete the pictures from it. What's the harm with letting me keep those pics? I can't take my baby with me. At least let me take the pics with me. So you understand that Caitlin can't go home? Delores gave the administration staff member an icy, hard look. I understand it. All right? I know she's different. I know you still have to research things about her. But she is still mine. The orderly asked. Delores, how are your pics stored? On my phone. The administration staff member said, You need to delete those pics from the cloud. That is one of the most hackable things. The orderly fixed the staff member with a cold stare. You can't permanently delete anything from the cloud. If you're connected to Wi-Fi and you charge your phone, there's a backup file. It saves everything for as long as there is memory to store it. Delores interrupted. I have an Android, not Apple. No cloud storage. I didn't even sign up for cloud storage. I didn't want to pay for it. She held up her phone. The oncologist said, you have to delete the pics. We can't chance a leak. Voices raised loud enough to wake Caitlin, who climbed out of her crib and came looking for Delores. Delores had a death grip on her phone, holding it close to her chest. I'm not going to show it to anyone, she insisted. Administration had called security, and at their approach, Delores held her mouth firmly shut, tears in her eyes. She wasn't going to be carried out like a sack of potatoes. Then she felt a touch on her leg. Mama? She picked Caitlin up, and her voice shook as she said, No. Now you woke her up. Before the conversation could get any uglier, one of the nurses spoke up. How about if we keep the pics Delores took as part of the medical record? We can show them to her anytime. The photos won't be lost. She just can't take them with her. Delores agreed to that solution. The orderly made sure that the pics were transferred to the medical records and deleted from her phone. Unhappy, but not angry, Delores went home, and the nurses put Caitlin back to bed. For now, order was restored. The Strange Case of Delores Crannon, Chapter 11. Someone, Somewhere. Caitlin cried out, Mama, with a huge smile as Delores entered. Good morning, sweetie pumpkin, Delores said. After a hug and a few kisses, Delores turned to the small closet to start choosing Caitlin's outfit for the day. She turned back to the bed with the summer dress on a hanger, only to find Caitlin lifting up her nightgown hem. Mama, what's this? She asked. Delores came closer to look. There was a small lump on Caitlin's left thigh, and Caitlin was rubbing it with one finger, pushing it to and fro. Delores touched the lump, and before she could stop herself, she inhaled sharply and jerked her hand away. It reminded her of the educational device at a women's health center she had toured. The device was a silicone presentation of a human breast with a small lump to simulate a cancerous tumor. Caitlin's lump felt so much like that. This bad? Caitlin asked. Oh, sweetie, I don't know. She held Caitlin and kissed her on the top of the head. We need the doctor to come look at it. The oncologist was not at the hospital yet. When he got to Caitlin's room, 20 minutes after Delores' arrival, the small bump on Caitlin's thigh had moved a half an inch. Caitlin said it didn't hurt when it moved. And over the next few hours following the discovery of the bump, the team monitored its progress across her thigh and hip. It stayed on her hip from that point. While some team members got very excited, trying to build the trajectory of the progress of the next tumor child, others became very quiet. When will this end? A lab tech asked under his breath. It was depressing to see children producing more children and then dying. To him, they weren't human forms of salmon. To reproduce was to die. It wasn't right. It wasn't anyone's fault, of course, but it just wasn't right. He never let anyone know his feelings, how he wished there was some way to stop this. He thought that someone somewhere would find a way to stop it, if they only knew what was happening to these kids. If only he had known that he wasn't the only person who felt that way. The Strange Case of Delores Crannon, Chapter 12. This moment. The maternal fetal specialist was showing Delores the ultrasound video from earlier that morning. At only 3 weeks, the developing child had fingers, toes, eyes that blinked, ears, a nose. She looked much like a 4-month-old fetus, except very small, 2.5 inches long, weighing only 2 ounces. She flexed her tiny forearms and kicked her feet, but she didn't twist or turn her body or even turn her head. The blood vessels connecting her to Caitlin kept her from moving anything but her forearms and lower legs. Her head-to-body ratio was a little off. Instead of the 1-to-4 ratio of a newborn, it was 1-to-6, like the ratio of a 5-year-old child. Go back a little, Delores asked. Back to her profile. She looked like a photo of Dolores' mother as a young child. Her name is Laurel Evangeline. That was her mother's name. The specialist sneaked a sidelong glance at Delores, who was smiling at the image on the monitor. It was a shame that the specialist had to remind her of what else was coming. We will be monitoring Caitlin 24/7 from now until Laurel is born. We learned a lot when Caitlin was born. We're hoping to apply that to Laurel and Caitlin. She paused, then said, We can't give any guarantees, Delores. We don't know if we can save Caitlin. We will start her on an IV as soon as that area, she meant the stretch of skin between the armpit and leg, starts to redden and bruise. We have TPN nutrition and whole blood set aside for her, and we are prepping one of the rooms in this wing to serve as a dedicated lab. When the lab is ready, you will have to wear isolation-type garment and shoe covers. Lab conditions will have to be kept pristine. No accounted-for DNA and all that. She took a breath. We have more staff coming on board, so our knowledge base as a team is expanding. Caitlin's room is already life support equipped, so there won't be any time lost hooking her up to whatever she needs when she needs it. Dolores' smile was gone, and her eyes glistened. I know, Doctor. I'm just afraid it's going to happen to her like it happened to Josie and Christine. I'm trying not to think about it, but it's always there, you know. Christine had passed quickly, and Josie slowly. But to Delores, their deaths seemed the same. Each one died as her sister was born. All the specialist could say was, I know. She herself was losing sleep, going over all the scenarios in her mind, isolating the top 10 most likely and strategies to respond to them. With little preamble, she left Delores to meet with the newest member of the team, an obstetrician with experience in high-risk pregnancies. The new member had been brought on by the oncologist. They had worked together in the past. He seemed to trust the obstetrician, so she had high hopes he would be able to help stabilize Caitlin quickly upon separation from her sister. Meanwhile, Delores went into Caitlin's room, her eyes gleaming with unshed tears. Mama! Hello, sweetie pie, she said, kissing Caitlin. Uh-oh, the Kissy monster's here. She gave Caitlin's face a few noisy kisses. Walk, Mama, Caitlin said, She lifted her dress and showed Delores the growing lump. It had gotten so big that her underpants no longer fit. No hurt. Caitlin had started saying that because everyone seemed to ask it of her. Does this hurt? Does this hurt? She was simply cutting to the question she knew was next. She wanted Delores to see her sister was growing, and it didn't hurt her. Delores picked Caitlin up. Oof, you're getting heavy. No, Mama, Sissy, not me. Delores hugged her tight, walking to the chair so she could sit and hold Caitlin. Rocking her, Delores asked, Are you scared, sweetie? Mm-mm, no scare. I'm so glad, she said into Caitlin's hair. Don't ever be scared. You're such a big, brave girl. Everything's going to be okay. Then, something occurred to her. Hey, do you know when your sissy is going to be born? Caitlin was playing with the button on Dolores' sweater, rolling it between her finger and thumb. I don't know. Then, in a brighter voice, she said, But I tell you when I know. Please do. Dolores breathed in the smell of her hair, a nice, clean baby smell, and concentrated on the weight in her arms and on her lap. The idly kicking bare feet that thumped against her leg, fingers tugging on her sweater button, the hard little head against her chest. She kept rocking as if rocking would keep this moment forever. I love how short these chapters are. I feel accomplished. The Strange Case of Delores Crannon. Chapter 13. Lights Out. Sissy coming out, Caitlin repeated. She pulled aside the sheet to show the nurse. Delores was called over the loudspeaker, and she left her lunch in the cafeteria, paid for but uneaten. The rest of the team was still assembling. As Delores hurried with her garment covers, she kicked the shoe covers aside. There wasn't time for these. She nearly ran to Caitlin's room. Mama, Caitlin said, her voice somewhat strained. I'm right here, sweetheart. Delores stood on the child's right side and held her hand. From where she stood, she could see the top edge of the armpit to leg area where Laurel was growing. She could also see the monitor with the cam magnifying Caitlin's torso. The red line along her side was dark, and it looked like some of it was already starting to part and open, the line appearing slick here and there. Does it hurt, Pumpkin? Delores asked. Tight, was all Caitlin said, and she groaned. The dark red line was broadening, and Delores was pushed aside as more of the medical team stepped closer to Caitlin. Delores kept her eyes on the monitor. I'm still here, sweetheart, she called to Caitlin. A foot appeared. It was Laurel's tiny foot. Within moments, members of the team had switched IV bags, put clamps on blood vessels, and were getting ready to receive Laurel. Moments after Laurel was separated from Caitlin, she blinked her eyes and rubbed them with her tiny fists. It was such an odd gesture for a newborn. But she didn't look newborn. She looked at the camera, and Delores marveled at that. She knows where the camera is, Delores thought. She is completely aware. There was a break in the number of people clustered around Caitlin. and Delores pushed to get through. She picked up Caitlin's hand in hers. "Sweetie pie, I'm right here. Mama's right here." Caitlin turned her head to look at Delores, and a little spit came out of the side of her mouth. I'm fine, Mama. I'm okay. Don't cry. Delores took a deep breath and made herself stop crying, reminding herself she had 2 babies now. 2 babies who needed her. She looked up to see where Laurel was and couldn't locate her at first. Then she saw the bin Laurel was in, surrounded by medical equipment, cameras, ultrasound. The team was starting to document Delores Crannon. The team members were so busy that they didn't see one of their members leave the wing through the double doors. They didn't see another duck into a stairwell. No one saw the assistant at the nurse's station pick up a cell phone. After looking around, the obstetrician sent a short text and then dropped his phone in the medical waste bin to be incinerated. Hours later, Caitlin was resting with a mild sedative, Delores by her side. Delores had Laurel's bin on a cart on the other side of her, and Laurel was also asleep. Delores sat and rocked. Even though she wasn't holding either of them, it was very calming to her. She looked up as the maternal fetal specialist came into the room. "Hello, doctor," she said, but the specialist's cell phone buzzed, and the doctor never answered her. Instead, the doctor picked up the call and walked to the window just on the other side of Laurel's bin. My God. Vans and cars were parked along the sidewalk. Cameras, lights. A helicopter buzzed by between the parking lot and the hospital. It flew right by the window. With a little jerk, the doctor drew the curtains closed. She stuffed her phone back in her lab coat pocket. Her cell phone buzzed again. At that moment, the lights in the wing all went out. There was the sound of breaking glass, and the emergency lights never went on. Someone grabbed the maternal fetal specialist, and she felt the sting of a needle in her arm. Vaguely, she heard Delores screaming. "Let me go! Don't touch my babies!" They were holding Delores while she did her best to kick and scratch. She heard a zipping sound, and then couldn't move her hands apart. She was starting to see a bit better in the dark. Someone had jostled the curtain aside, and dim light from the parking lot came through the window. She struggled against the arms holding her, trying to see what her attackers looked like, until someone put a bag over her head. They held her legs, feet together, and carried her a short distance. They put her down on something solid and kept her there, lying on her with their full weight, it seemed, while a needle went into her arm. "I got the kid that looks like a midget. You have the other?" a voice said. "Got it." They all went down the stairwell, children, mother, doctor, and kidnappers, and left in a van on the other side of the hospital, away from the reporters. The sound of my own voice puts me to sleep. I don't know how y'all are still awake. 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, let's read one more. How many chapters are there again? There's 28 chapters. So yeah, let's do one more. Dude, I hope I hit record. Oof, I did. I don't know what I would do if that was the case, if I forgot. How do you do that? That's crazy. Yeah, I've been watching ASMR videos. Yeah, because I just, I'm working with someone. I'm collabing with someone who knows someone who does ASMR. And holy crap, dude, they're like, how you do that with your mouth? If I know how to do it, I totally do it. Looks like fun. No hate. No hate. If you do it or you're into it, no hate. I'm just slightly jealous. Only slightly. 14. Yeah, we just read 13. Come on, 14. Yeah, I just had to take a mini nap there. That was crazy. Yeah, I just took a nap. I'm a ninja. Dude. I'm kind of a ninja. Actually help me. It's call center life, bruh. You learn to listen with your eyes closed. The Strange Case of Delores Crannon, Chapter 14. Don't be afraid. While the oncologist was sitting in front of his entry in the cafeteria, he happened to glance up and saw someone he didn't recognize. The man wore an expensive suit and was headed toward the oncologist in a straight line. Beeline, the oncology thought. He was tired. Dr. Gregory, the man said, you need to come with me. I just sat down to eat. I am Jeffrey Tulliver, and I represent the Sisters of Goodwill. You need to come with me. The oncologist left his tray on the table and followed Tulliver into the administration wing. This was unsettling. He had never been called into admin since orientation in his first days of working at Blessed Mother. Wow, he still left. I'm surprised. I would not have. He followed Tulliver past several conference rooms and office doors. Straight ahead, at the end of the hallway, there was a large doorway that led to the CEO's office. To the right, there was a doorway into the conference room. Tulliver turned right. In the conference room, a group of people were already seated at the table. The Monsignor was seated on the side of the table nearest the door, while the other people were seated across the table. The oncologist was now very unsettled. This looked like an inquisition. Tulliver indicated a seat next to the Monsignor. An older woman on the other side said, "We are waiting for Dr. Tatsuishi, and then we can begin with the Monsignor's statement." The oncologist glanced a sidelong look at the Monsignor, who sat there unnaturally quiet with his hands folded on the table in front of him. A young man in a suit appeared in the doorway and walked crisply around the end of the table to the older woman who had spoken. He bent to whisper to her ear, and she stood up. "Gentlemen," she said, "we have a crisis on our hands. Someone has taken..." The oncologist and Monsignor waited for her to finish talking, but it seemed that was all she was going to say. They looked at each other, stunned. "What the hell?" The oncologist looked quickly to his right and left. No one was moving or speaking. He caught the Monsignor's eye. "What's going on?" he asked the Monsignor, who was staring owl-eyed at the people across the table. "I have no idea, my son." Seconds later, heels clicked softly on the threshold between the hallway and conference room. A petite young woman had come through the door, her hand slightly extended outward, palm up. but the Monsignor and oncologist turned to look at her. "Don't be afraid," she said. This was a quiet breath from the seat next to the oncologist. He stole a look at the Monsignor, who looked about to weep. "Everything is all right." She stood there before them, her expression open and friendly. "What's happening?" the oncologist asked. "We are existing in a bubble just outside normal space and time. They cannot see or hear me, nor can they see or hear you. A cleanup crew is coming to take care of memory and continuity issues. Please follow me." The Monsignor was too overcome to stand on his own. The oncologist took one of his arms, and a woman came around on his other side, weaving her arm around his. His expression was a mixture of fear and joy as they pulled him to a standing position. Together, the three of them left the room, swaying now and again as the Monsignor's legs failed to hold steady. They passed a half-dozen young women carrying duffel bags, headed toward the conference room. "Angels," the Monsignor whispered. "They're all angels." And thank you for joining me. All right, that was chapter 13. 14. All right, that was chapter 14. Yeah, I think 5 chapters will be good. If I listen to myself talk too much, I fall asleep. Honestly. Thank goodness I have a standing desk, or else I'd have a forehead like the kid in that video game, Bonk's Adventure. Yeah, the standing desks help me to stay awake. But, nah. Oh my god, I just fell asleep just then. That's not good. Do I have narcolepsy? Huh. Alright, well that was chapter 14. Yeah. The Strange Case of Delores Crannon. It's a crazy freaking series. I'm enjoying it. Well, thank you for joining me for tonight's first open mic night. I hope you enjoyed. Leave me a like to let me know you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, it's not boring here. Yeah. Just hang out. If you want to just hang out, that's cool. If you fall asleep, that's also cool. But yeah, take care. Bye, guys.